Volunteer Training Presentation. Volunteer Training Module presented by Chen Tai Kang, Kang Chen Tai, Jiang Junda, Jiang Junda, Kang Junda, Kang Junda. Effective volunteer training. Good volunteer management includes ensuring volunteers are trained to fulfill their roles effectively. What is volunteer training? Training means different things to different people, and there are many ways that people learn. Volunteers may need less formal training than paid staff, as they may be doing very specific roles for limited periods. However, it is important that they are given opportunities to get feedback on how they are doing in the role. Without being too formal, supervision and support sessions can provide these opportunities. Volunteers can think about their work and how they contribute to the organization's objective. Volunteers like to know about any changes coming that are likely to impact on them. The right types of volunteer training. If you are responsible for supporting volunteers, you will need to think about the amount of time volunteers have available, their own preferred way of learning, and what resources you have available. For example, capacity, time, location, materials, budget for external courses. Effective volunteers. It is the responsibility of the organization to ensure that volunteers are able to carry out the role they have been recruited to do, whatever that may be. The steps from recruitment to volunteers contributing effectively can be summarized as induction, assessing volunteer training and development needs, meeting needs, filling gaps, supervision and support. Other questions you might have are around how much training should a volunteer have, what is too much, too little, and should you give accreditation to volunteers learning or training. Training volunteers. How to make the most of your volunteers through training, development, and accreditation. Making the most of your volunteers means inducting and training them effectively. This section looks at volunteer induction. A good induction ensures volunteers are able to contribute quickly and feel part of the organization. Effective volunteer training. Good volunteer management includes ensuring volunteers are trained to fulfill their roles effectively. How much volunteer training to give, providing opportunities and managing risks. It is important to strike the appropriate balance. Accrediting volunteer training. How to acknowledge volunteers' training and experience more formally through gaining a qualification or accreditation. Volunteer induction. A good induction ensures volunteers are able to contribute quickly and feel part of the organization. Avoid assumptions about volunteers. The term volunteer applies to all sorts of people giving their time for free. They will come with different skills, experiences, and educational achievements. They will come from different backgrounds with different motivations for volunteering. This might include highly qualified graduates, students, those who have left school with no formal qualifications, people who want to volunteer in roles that are very different to their paid work, people who have retired and want to put skills and experience to good use. People looking to build experience to get into paid work. Employer-supported volunteers. People who are volunteering in a representative capacity. For example, union rep, local councillor, tenant representative. In each case, the volunteers will need to be inducted into the role and provided with support to enable them and the organization to get the most from their volunteering. Community activities and campaigning volunteers may be volunteering in more informal roles. Induction and training for those roles are likely to look different and come in different forms. Getting started with volunteer inductions. Induction incorporates orientation, personal introductions, understanding the volunteering role, knowing where to find things, and understanding the values and policies of the organization. Support comes in many forms, and a well-organized induction session can provide volunteers with the support they initially require. Induction should not consist of simply giving volunteers policies to read and introducing them to other volunteers and staff. Getting the induction process right can help your organization retain its volunteers for longer. Volunteer induction checklist. Introduce them to other staff and volunteers. Show them around the building. Explain who they can go to if they have any questions or problems. Show them where they will be sitting and where they can find any equipment they need. Let them know about breaks. Explain how to claim expenses. Explain your organization's policy on volunteers using telephones or accessing the internet for their own use. Ask them to schedule other experienced volunteers or paid members of staff. These are informal points, but they are important because they help volunteers feel more comfortable with your organization. What else will volunteers need to know during induction? Organizational policies and procedures are better left until volunteers have gone through day-to-day practicalities. Once you have completed the checklist, volunteers should feel more confident about asking you to explain anything they do not fully understand. Then you move on to formal matters. Ensure volunteers understand the issues by going through policies and procedures with them. These more formal issues could include your organization's policies and procedures, for example, equal opportunities, health and safety, risk assessments, etc. The history, ethos, and structure of the organization, how to deal with complaints, and areas of concern, the role and responsibility, and any volunteers' agreement. The volunteer may find it useful if the information they are given is kept in a handbook or pad. Further induction for volunteers. The rest of the induction period will be taken up with ongoing training and volunteers trying out the type of work they will be doing. The duration and depth of induction will depend on the role and level of resources available. If you work closely with volunteers during this initial period, it will provide you with a better picture of how they work, what support they will need, and what they are hoping to gain. How much training to give volunteers? Providing opportunities and managing risks. It is important to strike the appropriate balance. Many volunteer involving organizations run their own tailor-made training courses. Depending on resources available, volunteers can receive the same training as a paid member of staff. How much training volunteers may want to do is quite different and may depend on their reasons for volunteering. Many volunteers will want to be confident that they are fulfilling their role well, while others will want to develop their skills as widely as possible. Some may feel their experience is good enough or that they are too busy to attend training. Here we look at the two extremes, too much training and no training. Volunteering as a route to work. Volunteers who want to change their CVs may begin to do as much training as they can. Voluntary worker provides useful links for those who want to develop their skills and abilities to get into paid work. Some large organizations provide full-time volunteering opportunities to develop personal and professional skills. Volunteer managers might use access to training courses as a perk to encourage more volunteers or existing volunteers to do more. However, training must be relevant and appropriate to the role the volunteer is doing. Otherwise, there is a risk that a volunteer may be considered an employee with consequences for them regarding legal status, benefits, etc. Accrediting volunteer learning. How to acknowledge volunteers' training and experience more formally through a qualification or accreditation. Accreditation is the formal recognition of the achievements of an individual living up to some internal or external standards. In other words, it is a process of confirming that someone's performance conforms to standards that are agreed or approved. For some volunteers, getting formal recognition of their performance is important. The accreditation process may be widened to include the provision of references, which will be helpful for people seeking employment. External and internal volunteer accreditation. Not all organizations will be in a position to offer externally accredited opportunities. Advice and support may be available through national, regional, and local infrastructure organizations. How to recognize and reward volunteers' learning. Volunteers appreciate getting a certificate that recognizes their attendance on training and their ability to learn new skills. For some volunteers, it is important that achievements are recognized formally and by external awarding bodies. Depending on the reasons for volunteering, a certificate from the organization or the training provider is enough. Many organizations recognize training by awarding in-house certificates and saying thank you. Some volunteer organizations have established highly regarded in-house training for their volunteers. Example of volunteer trainees: attendance appreciation certificate, name of volunteer, 志愿者姓名 Nama Bagi Sukarelawan, Jiang Juntai, Kang Xuan Tai. Thank you for your attendance to the volunteer training session. 感谢您参加志愿者培训班。Terima kasih bagi kehadiran Anda ke sesi latihan sukarelawan. Who pays for volunteer training? This can vary depending on the organization, the opportunities they are providing, and what potential volunteers are seeking. Certain organizations charge and volunteer leaders for the cost of attending some weekend training courses and offer training grants to support them to take these opportunities. Other organizations may require volunteers to pay for their training and run a waiting list for people who want to join them. Question of supply and demand perhaps. Managing and retaining volunteers. How to effectively manage and retain volunteers within your organization. Managing your volunteers effectively and providing them with adequate support will help you retain them. This section provides information on treating volunteers as employees. Managers of volunteers need to be mindful of the risks when volunteers are seen as employees. Supervising and supporting volunteers. The importance of supporting and gaining feedback from volunteers to assess their satisfaction with their roles. Reference video. YouTube, Lian Harbert, Hour of Code Volunteer Training Webinar, around 40 minutes. Access 29th January 2017. YouTube, Winston Bush, EAA Fort Trimoto Volunteer Training Video, around 30 minutes. Access 6 March 2017. YouTube, Mother's Milk Bank Volunteer Training Video, around 50 minutes. Access 6 March 2017.